as well.
Right, there we go. This meeting's being live streamed. Cool.
Awesome. So here we are on this another friendly Friday. I think Fridays will never get unfriendly, right? I think it's just one of those things, like we get to the end of the week and it's like, it can only get right. So welcome to the Marketing Lifelines Friendly Friday, in conversation with like-minded people who like to just share and share like. And today we are joined by the beautiful Michelle McNabb from Halsbell Digital. Welcome, and thanks so much, Michelle, for taking out some time to join us today.
Thanks, what an intro.
Yeah, you can see I've done almost 52 of these a year down the tracks, but absolutely every guest I have is unique in their own way. And just having touched base, actually not even long ago, I think it was almost just a week ago that Michelle and I actually met for the first time. And yeah, I think we just connected from a kind of mutual perspective, both us being in passion for marketing and strategy, as we'll talk a little bit about. So yes, topic for today, a little bit broader, but kind of we're going to talk a little bit about the role of marketing. I think just because we are also both so passionate about it, we don't want you to lose sight of what really the role of marketing is, and also don't lose hope or kind of use our guidance again to just remember that marketing is not just about showing up. Right? Remember, we've got to show up with intention and what it is that we're doing, and are we doing it strategically for the long run. So we'll just jump straight into a little bit of an intro before we go into the questions. Michelle's given me her awesome bio, which I did cut down ever so slightly, but I've managed to keep some of the very key things as interesting as her career has been and the many roles she has enjoyed. So Michelle is actually a Canadian-born but South African resident whose digital marketing career has spanned 15 years and in several countries. She held several leadership roles, both client-side and in marketing agencies, including head of paid media, head of digital, head of strategy, and head of growth. In her agency career, she won 2 Bookmark Awards and served as on the IAB judging panel for these awards, as well as in 2014. In 2015, she started her own boutique digital marketing agency, Halsbell Digital, providing a full suite of marketing services to clients such as Viva Gym, the Cape Innovation and Technology Initiative, and the Western Cape Government. And then in 2021, she realized that she had a passion in strategy and education. And now she runs a 90-day growth accelerator program facilitating businesses with at least a 2 million rand turnover to establish a framework that empowers them to reach the next level of growth without wasting time and cash. Ting ting, I think that's where Michelle and I connected when she mentioned the word strategy and educate. And I think, and that says a lot about her amazing career and, you know, never mind coming from Canada, traveling the world, representing so many awesome positions, as she mentioned, both client and agency. So I look so forward to what you have to share with us today.
Great,
so
thanks.
Awesome, thanks. And just to kind of kick off, I always like to just ask a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey and how Halsbell's kind of agency came to life and maybe why. So you can share with the listeners as well as to maybe inspire some that may possibly be on the very same journey at this stage in their life.
Okay, so you've given the nice glossy public-facing intro. So I suppose this is more the that's the official statement. But the truth is, I had it's called an entrepreneurial seizure. So, you know, I'd worked in bigger companies. I'd been a faithful employee for many years, and I think there are people who start out and they're running their own business from the beginning and they come from an entrepreneurial background. I didn't know anyone running their own business. So I'd come from big companies and I thought, you know, you have this feeling like maybe I could do this better, but you don't think, oh, I can run my own company. And then I had an opportunity to be head of digital at a startup agency, and that sounded like something different and an opportunity to get in on the ground floor, because I definitely hit a ceiling of where I could get in big agency. And so I was head of digital for this small company, and that's when I saw up close what it's like to run a small business. And well, full disclosure, the guy that I was head of digital for, yeah, he wasn't very nice. So that was, thankfully, I was lucky he wasn't very nice, because then I was like, why am I running this guy's company when I could do it myself? And of course, it seemed so easy in the beginning. And, you know, we all pay our school fees, and there's ups and downs and many evolutions of what you end up doing. But that's kind of how it started.
Awesome. No, I like that. And that's, like you've just mentioned, sometimes we actually need that discomfort to enable us and kick us up the backside, if I can say in a better term, to do it, you know, because I know how many of us do sit in corporate feeling, geez, you know, I wish I could just do this on my own. And then it's just that one experience that allows us, or entitles us to take up the opportunity and do it, and look where we are today. And for the better, I'm sure, for both of us as well, and yourself.
But it's a scary start. It can be a scary prospect. There's so many people who want to start their own businesses, but if you haven't had that experience, knowing where to start is so difficult. So yeah.
And I think also having the right mindset to realize that it's not going to be easy to start is probably a very good starting point, because if you expect to go in kind of earning the same type of money you were earning in your previous jobs, you know, those are the realities that are going to knock you down. So if you are prepared to go in knowing it's going to take time to build, then you're better off, I think.
And also,
so let's talk a little. Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say something that really did help me as well as I joined a business incubator, and that helped me with actually conceiving, rather than just ending up being a self-employed person doing the same job but for myself. Going through, I just went through a lot of training myself, and I applied for business incubators and did a lot of reading, and that really helped with that first jump, and with my confidence, and also just my ability to run a business. Yeah, so I got help.
That's very good. Thanks for that advice, because I think that's also something we forget about, is remember to self-train and continue to learn. And even if you become a business owner, it doesn't mean that you're good enough and you don't need to keep learning. So good point in recognizing that. So let's talk a little bit now about marketing, and kind of the role that marketing does play in business. What are your thoughts around this? Because I know there's lots of misconceptions and stuff, but let's talk mostly about the role of marketing in business.
Okay, so I think what a lot of people think of when they think marketing is, some people will think messaging. So what do you need to say to people to convince them? And then other people, I mean, I come from a performance marketing background. So you think, okay, what we need is a list of things to do and say in order to get a customer. But I think marketing is way more than a to-do list to acquire customers. So basically what marketing needs to be is a whole system that it's like a machine that takes complete strangers and turns them into customers that buy from you consistently and tell their friends. So it's basically a machine for converting complete strangers into your best customers. I think also another thing with that is, I mean, the general rule actually is that whoever can afford to spend the most to acquire the customer wins. The same is true in politics. Whichever politician spends the most on their campaigns is the winner. Same actually with customer acquisition. So if you've got that proper system, if your marketing creates that system in place, it actually allows you to make the most money per person so that you can afford to spend the most to acquire that person. So it's not just a to-do list, and it's not just a small number of things. It's basically all the components of your customer acquisition system, and not just acquisition, it's retention as well, keeping that person the longer you can keep them, the more money you can make from them. And marketing also plays a role in that.
Totally. I like the fact that you used the word machine. For me, that kind of says quite a lot, because kind of seeing a machine, let's call it an engine, whatever, there's like lots of parts to it, and there's inlets and outlets, and there's nuts, and there's bolts, and there's pipes, and there's tubes, and it's actually quite a nice analogy the way you've said that, because often I think people see it not in isolation, but I think a lot of people don't. They kind of, as we know, they kind of go through the business experience and then they add on the marketing, and they don't kind of incorporate the marketing into the whole business development phase. And I think that's where this disconnect is. It's like you said, people just, okay, so we've got the website now we need to drive traffic to the website. When in actual fact, it should have been part of the initial process, to feed that engine, because essentially that's what it's made up of all these nuts and bolts.
Yeah, and they all have to work together. The pieces have to work together. And also, if we take the machine analogy further, you just might accept, let's say you've got machines that are essential to the running of your business. You might expect that, all right, you've got to invest in these machines and in their maintenance. A lot of the time people will think, oh, I can't afford to spend any money on this, but meanwhile, it's such an integral part of your business. I think the stats that I've read have said that companies that invest 10 to 20% in their marketing pretty much never fail to see growth. I mean, obviously there's a caveat to that. The machine has got to be put together properly, or the thing's just going to fall apart. But, there'd be an understanding that you'd have to invest in this machine and it's running in order for it to keep working for you.
And maintaining, I think that's a critical factor, like you mentioned as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit then about the misconception. So do you believe there is this misconception as to what marketing really is, and why do you say so?
It's kind of a continuation of the same idea. As I said, people often think that it's a to-do list. I think the big problem is people zoom in so close that they fail to see the bigger picture. So as I said, so marketing is a system more than a list of things you do, but I'd like to take it further than that. So I really love the book, The E-Myth by Michael E. Gerber. I think it's been around since the 80s. I could be wrong, but I think every business owner should read it. So the advanced E-Myth. So just to clarify, so the E-Myth, when I first heard the title, I thought, oh, it sounds like an old school author trying to sound new age and sounding out of date, like it's going to be email or something like that. But the E-Myth stands for the entrepreneur myth. And he says that the myth is that companies are started by entrepreneurs, that are people that are opportunity finders, and they want business growth and they care about running businesses. But he said the actual truth and why so many businesses fail is that they're run by a technician who has an entrepreneurial seizure. So what that means is they're run by somebody that wants to do the job without and one day they think, oh, I should do this for myself. But what they actually want to do is keep doing the job, but with themselves as the boss. Whereas an entrepreneur and a business that's going to work needs a full system, needs a lot more systems. And you have to understand that you are no longer the technician. You are running a business, and there's an element of being the technician, but also a manager and an entrepreneur. And so he's also got the advanced E-Myth says that there are 7 areas of management attention. And I always argue that marketing is actually involved in 6 out of those 7 areas. It's so integral to so many parts of your business. It's not like a thing you do. It's part of the very fabric. So the pieces are leadership. So you need, there's that saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can't, so to actually lead and create that culture, a lot of that is core messaging and beliefs. And you deal with that sort of thing when you actually look at marketing messaging. So another one is people systems. exactly on that same vein of culture eats strategy for breakfast. So people systems is things like HR and hiring and all of that. That's how you are actually, if you want a good culture, you need to market your company to your employees on an ongoing basis. You can't be like, oh, we've got this happy, friendly marketing message, but actually we treat our employees like they're in the army. That doesn't gel. Client delivery. So that is just the systems involved in actually delivering your product to people. All your messaging around that has to be consistent with the messaging you brought them in on. There is an area that he calls marketing, and by that he means market research and messaging and positioning and all of that. But then also lead generation, people often bundle into the term marketing. That's another area that Michael E. Gerber mentions. And then lead conversion. So that people often think lead conversion, now that's the salesperson. The salesperson and the marketing person, again, they need to be singing off the same song sheet. Otherwise, you end up with a disconnect. And then finally, the last one was money systems. And I'm not going to argue that marketing has an influence on what the accountants are doing. But I'd say 6 out of 7 crucial areas of the business are actually wrapped up in that term marketing.
It's actually insane that, when you mention it like that now, because I reference something which is quite common to most businesses or available is the customer experience cycle, right? So it's exactly that. And that's why I often take people through that process, because it doesn't matter at which point they're at. There's marketing's had some input, whether it's about how you show up, or like you say, your message, or where they find you, or how it's packaged, or even how the product smells. Marketing's had their finger in the pie in something of all of that. And needless to say that the sales and marketing is a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
But I love the idea that I myself haven't actually read the book. And those 7 references sound very clear through that customer journey, and how marketing actually should be driving that, with, as you say, with one golden thread, to ensure both golden in-house are very familiar as to what marketing is doing, as to what sales is saying on the outside, like pulling that all together. And I think, having been in the corporate capacity, both yourself and me, and myself and you and the agency side, we know that is the role of marketing. But I think from an entrepreneur perspective, they kind of get tied up, and you mentioned it earlier, it's like we start focusing on it, we zoom in, and we forget about the bigger picture and how we should actually be focusing on marketing, and how it could actually be a big difference in our business, and that we don't have to be focusing on just what are we saying on Facebook every day, but rather what are we doing in the broader spectrum? Like what are we trying to achieve?
Never mind Facebook, never mind ads, never mind just this group of leads you got in. What about the rest of it?
And I think that's where I think myself and Michelle also share much passion, is because we're tired of the people getting caught up in what I call the kind of operational side, and just the day-to-day, like got to get posts out, got to get emails out, got to. And I'm also, my thing is kind of saying ownership, take back ownership of that. And whether you have to show up on Facebook every day, I don't know whether that's your strategy or great, it isn't, whatever, but take ownership back. Don't focus on the silver bullets and what everyone else around you is doing, but rather focusing on the big picture stuff, and what is it that you're trying to achieve, and how are you going to differentiate yourself, get to that point through this machine. Because if I agree, like I love that, if you're not going into your business model with marketing as your machine, then I think you're going to lose out. So I love that analogy again as well. Sorry, the machine, I keep thinking motor engine, but machine, same thing. It's just a thing that makes things move from A to B, which is fantastic. So anything else to add to that, Michelle? Sorry, I just ended off on that.
No, that's
all good.
Yeah.
Love that. So definitely going to put that in the post if you want to read the book E-Myth. I must just get the author's name to confirm. I think that would be a good option.
It's Michael E. Gerber. The so the one that there's the eMyth Revisited. I think it's probably a later edition. That's the introductory one, and those 7 areas of management attention, that's actually from the advanced eMyth. But if you Google the eMyth, it's incredibly popular, and they've made the eMyth for hospitality. They've made editions for specific to a lot of industries.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we get to the best part, which is the top tips. And by no means you have to give us all your secrets, but just to share with now this entrepreneur that's inspired and they've got this business and they've now felt like they've had the entrepreneurial seizure.
Yeah.
Got to reference that. You know, like, and the mindset of Facebook isn't your marketing strategy. Like, what are some of your top tips as a professional in this space to help and guide entrepreneurs who want to now kickstart their marketing journey?
Well, kind of starting with that, exactly as I said, it's like, never mind Facebook. You know, big one is beware of shiny objects. So business owners typically have a lot of ideas, and especially when it comes to marketing, it's like people will chase that shiny object, like, oh, look, a squirrel, you know, because somebody's told them that they should do it, or they've had a thought and one person says, oh, you got to be on Instagram, and they just end up doing stuff. So my first tip would be, make sure that your decision making is part of a broader system, that you know, that you've got those main objectives and in mind, and this understanding of, if I'm doing this one piece, how does this fit into the rest of my system, rather than just a thing you do by itself. So secondly, I'd say don't pour water into a leaky bucket. A lot of the strategies that people arrive at and will approach marketing professionals to do are things that attract more traffic, so fresh eyeballs. And think about it, those fresh eyeballs probably don't have the first clue what you do, and you need to make sure that anything that they now come across is not, that you're not pouring that water in a leaky bucket, that they don't just leak straight out. You have to make sure that the design of the materials and the messaging that you give them when they get there is actually going to hook them in and take them to the next step with you. Otherwise, it's literally just water down the drain, you know, out that bucket, money down the drain. And the third one is, I would say a lot of people like, oh, I don't have the time to figure out how to do all this stuff, I'm just going to pay someone to do it. The thing is, it's like saying, you know, I'm a busy mother, I'm going to let the nanny entirely raise this baby, you know, and why? And then they're like, why is this child not exactly as I would like it? You know, you have to basically educate yourself enough that you can at least manage it. You have to know enough to manage marketing in your business. And I would say, especially if your marketing budget is under about $2,500 a month. So that's, I don't know, about 35,000 Rand. If your budget is under that, a large number of the people, the marketing providers in that space, there's a lot of people that don't really know how to give you the best service, or it can work, but you need to manage it very carefully. And the more you understand about the general concepts and the whole system. So when I say the machine, a lot of the marketing professionals don't actually understand the concept of the machine themselves. So you need to at least to develop enough of an understanding of how things work together and how the system for marketing works in your business, if you're going to actually end up getting good results, whether it's from your own team or from external providers. So in summary, yeah, beware of shiny objects, don't pour water in the leaky bucket, and educate yourself on how the system works.
I love that, yeah. Thank you so much for that, because I think actually it's strangely true in line with my theme this week about making time. It's like, you've got to make time for marketing, like you've got to make time for something that you love dearly. Absolutely, because if you're making time for something you love dearly and you're not making time for marketing, then there's going to be a problem, right?
Yeah.
So definitely, to just recap, decision making on a broader perspective, love that one, agree. Don't go in with the shiny bullet, rather take that step back, review. I'm definitely going to put don't pour water into leaky bucket. Love that. Think about the process, and as you said, like kind of consider that journey of that customer, and rather nurture them at every point that you can to ensure that they move through that little funnel that we talk about to the next step, because otherwise you're just putting a whole lot of money in and you're getting these leads and then possibly suddenly going, oh shucks, what next? And also, if things don't happen timelessly enough, that customer is also going to kind of move on. And then lastly, educate yourself. Absolutely, because Michelle's also mentioned, just because somebody offers this marketing service doesn't mean they understand the machine totally. They could have come in from a different industry. They could have come in and had a bit of an entrepreneurial seizure and decided this is what they want to do. And that's what they focus on. So they don't have that broad perspective neither. And it's a very good point. And that's why I think often starting with somebody like a Michelle that can help you with your marketing strategy and guide you is always the right place to start, because we will then essentially give you that plan so we can help these other people to implement and support that machine. So I think those are fantastic tips. Unfortunately, the 2,500 Rand budget is probably not within most of our people's plans. So absolutely, you have to just implement and outsource in your own capacity.
Which is why education is so important. Even if you have $2,500 a month, you still need to educate yourself. Even spending a very large budget is not a guarantee of a good result. I've collaborated on projects which I know the client spent well over R1 million on the website. It was still full of problems, still pouring water in a leaky bucket in a lot of the case. So yeah, educate yourself, because even a big budget is not a guarantee of a good result. So you can't, like you have to still raise your own baby. You know, if you want that child in your life, it's the same as marketing. If you want the best results from that, you've got to remember it's your baby. So you need to figure out, even if someone helps you, you're still responsible for it.
No, totally. Yep, we gave birth to our businesses, so we have to maintain them. Okay, so moving on to our last question for the day, which is generally just an opinion question, off the cuff, depending on the week I've had and what people have said. I throw it out there, and I like to get opinions. So just in your opinion, do you believe that networking has become like the new marketing? And yeah, let us know what your thoughts are around that. We'd like to hear.
I'm sure you thought of this one, because you know we're both networkers, big networkers, and we meet a lot of people that networking is their only marketing for a lot of people. In terms of being like the new marketing, I'd say that networking is really the oldest marketing in the book. You know, just go out. You know, if you go out and tell someone what you're doing, you're essentially networking, really. Now that's someone that knows. And I think a lot of people are drawn to it because they think, oh, it's cheap, it doesn't cost anything. But actually, it's important to remember, like, okay, so example, you know, I'm a member of BNI, so professional networking organization. There's a fee to join, an annual membership fee. And when you attend in-person meetings, you've got to pay for that breakfast. And I think when people work out if it's a good channel and if it's profitable, they stop there and say, oh, look, my return on investment, I got this business out of it, way exceeds my fees. But really, I think this way because I come from an industry where you sell time. If you count up the value of your time and how much you might bill per hour, then maybe yes, maybe no. A lot of the time, I know people that have left professional networking organizations because they say, when I tally up the value of my time, it wasn't worth it. I think the thing is, networking, like any other marketing, it's a tactic. And you have to understand where that fits into the strategy. So I've had a lot better results out of network marketing when I've had a more fully conceived marketing and sales strategy. There's been times when I haven't quite been sure what products I wanted deliver and I just kind of network, and then I just don't get any referrals because I don't actually have solid messaging. I don't have anything to take people across the line. So yeah, so I'd say it's in which case I was pouring water into a leaky bucket, you know. So network marketing, I think the oldest in the book, but I think we can have a new approach to it in terms of actually understanding that it's part of that system, part of that broader machine. It's just one of the things that feeds, that it's an input into that machine.
Yeah.
No.
Totally. I loved your opinion. Thank you for sharing that. I think I probably have to agree with you on this one. Also met a number of people who kind of believe that networking is how they market their business, and that's fantastic. But I also see it, as you've mentioned, as more of a tactic of that bigger marketing plan strategy, and again, knowing what you need to sell or say, knowing what your intention is also important, because otherwise, as you say, you're really just showing up, connecting with a whole lot of people and not really following through and driving relationships and engagement, which is not really then essential and worth your money, right?
And the who, and the who is important too, right? Like there's often different value to connecting with different types of people. A lot of marketing and market research involves actually understanding who your ideal customers are, and you have to have a specific strategy actually to figure out through your network. Not everyone that you network with is necessarily going to present themselves as your ideal target market. So, but maybe they can be a connector to your ideal target market. So yeah, definitely has to be a strategic approach to it if it's going to work.
Okay, yeah, totally agree with that. So yeah, don't get caught up in attending too many networking things. I think the key is to understand again that bigger picture, who it is that you're trying to target, as Michelle's mentioned again, what is your message and your intention, and then find strategic events that will match your requirements. Otherwise, it is just time being wasted, honestly. But definitely use it strategically, as we've mentioned, as a tactic, because it is just available so freely at the moment. And it's convenient, I guess, with the online and also global networking options and opportunities we do have.
I think also,
yeah.
if we have time, I think that the best results I ever had from networking is I went into a meeting with a strategy. I made a list of everyone in the room that fits a few criteria, and then I made contact, and then I reached out to all of those people. I set up a meeting with them, just an introductory one, and my objective was to get them into my discovery session, which is I've got a free discovery session that tells people about my program. And I thought, okay, if just more people from my network get that far, then I'll get better value out of my network. And that's been the best results that I've had. So kind of had to narrow down that network. I think I've heard the saying, you don't necessarily want a network that's a mile wide and an inch deep. So I started with the bigger group, and my effort was to then try and make it more than an inch deep, try and just connect with a few individuals that it's worth investing more time in educating them further. Because if you try and do that with everyone in the room, you're just going to burn out and probably not do so well.
Yeah. And also, you mentioned it, you went in there with a goal to get them onto your discovery session. So that's also very key, is have that goal. Maybe not just connecting, but rather what is the next step? That's very important. Cool. Well, I think that's us for today. I really appreciate you sharing with us, Michelle. It's been a rather interesting chat, and I know I can often also talk quite a bit about it and maybe sometimes too much, but I really did appreciate your input. It's been fantastic sharing with us. I'm sure there's a few key learnings out of this that people will walk away, and maybe a few key terms more for me that I'm going to definitely use going forward. But yeah, thanks so much, everybody. Please do, if you like the interview, just give us a like, comment, and subscribe to my page. We go live weekly. We've got always relevant and engaging content to help grow your business. So just thanks again. And until next week, same time, same place. Happy Friendly Friday to all. And thanks again to you, Michelle.
Great. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.